And it has to do with the search for Travis Decker, the father on the run, accused of killing his 3 daughters. The Chelan County Sheriff's Office in Washington State is reporting that human remains have been found, believed to be those of Decker. Decker never returned his daughters to their mother after a visit back in May. The bodies of 9-year-old Peyton, 8-year-old Evelyn, and 5-year-old Olivia were found at a campsite. The remains found Thursday are just a few miles away from that campsite. Decker was former military, had extensive survival training, and the sheriff says that items found near the remains, such as clothing, were similar to the clothing that Decker was wearing when he was last seen. They also found some personal items that didn't elaborate. Bottom line is, it sure looks like it is him. Once again, human remains believed to belong to that missing murder suspect, Travis Decker, have been found. Full confirmation, of course, is still coming, but that is the latest, and we'll inform you with more throughout the day. All right, now to the task at hand on this Friday morning, a very busy Friday morning. It's time for your daily docket.
And how was the defendant's demeanor when he would talk about Tim or their relationship?
Horrible. Screaming, arms flailing, red in the face. I'm gonna get back at him. He's an effing... And I just kept walking away because Tim was a friend of mine, but I still heard what he said.
Closing argument set to begin in that case there, the dosed and choked murder trial for defendant Herbert Swilley. That begins at 8:30, about half an hour from now. We'll be monitoring that in Iowa. Karina Cooper from the Widow's Words murder trial is back in court today. She has a hearing on a motion for a new trial. If denied, which it will be, most likely, then she will be sentenced. So that sentencing gets underway at 3:30 Eastern. We'll talk about more on Cooper later in the show here this hour. Plus in Florida, closing arguments. We're getting ready for these, boy. 9 o'clock. Pregnant mistress murder trial for defendant Jose Soto-Escalera, and that is our top story. What can we expect this morning? Soto-Escalera is accused of killing his mistress, 23-year-old Tania Wise, and their unborn child back in 2018. But the defense is pointing the finger at her lifestyle and possibly other men because of her lifestyle as potential suspects here. But on Thursday, the defense rested without calling any witnesses, including the defendant. He said no thank you to the offer to testify. Jurors heard some very damning evidence. A translation of a conversation between Soto-Escalera and his nephew, where the defendant appears to be talking about covering up Tania's murder.
Did she have a purse? Hers? No. If they find her now, they can't do the inaudible final because the mom is not called. She is not missing yet on this side. They don't consider her as missing. The what did she die of? What did she have? What does she have? So they will put her in a box, take her out, the son, inaudible, problem. And since she disappears like that for a couple of days, no one is going to be looking for her. I already took 2 baths when I got to her house, and I bathed this morning. I bathed. I cleaned my hands with the cleaner, the one for breaks, because I had gloves and everything just in case.
Did you see the blood?
Huh?
Did you see blood? Did you see?
I had it all over the clothes, but without the evidence, they can't do nothing. If something happens, no one saw the bag.
Inaudible.
Exactly. What's for dinner tonight, bro?
Huh?
What's for dinner tonight? I'm thinking pizza. You know I can't go to that street no more.
All right, and the jurors saw these photos as well. So they heard the recorded conversation from the garbage truck, and then they saw the photos of the defendant in the garbage truck. Has the prosecution done enough here? I think probably. The question is now, what will the defense do during the closing arguments? Let's talk about it with criminal defense attorneys Joe Tamarino and David Bruno. Good morning to both of you. Happy Friday, gentlemen. All right, Joe. Boy, yesterday was damning. and the day before. This case has just been piling on and on against this defendant. What are your thoughts going into the close? Will it be a refrain from what we saw in the openings with the defense saying, well, you know, she had a lifestyle that introduced unsavory folks, and will that cut it?
Well, thanks for having me on, Ted. Good morning. No, it's not going to cut it. I mean, think of it this way. This is a death penalty case, and it's taken only 4 days to try. Yes, today will be closing arguments, so it will technically be the 5th day of trial. And he didn't testify. I mean, death is on the line here. His life is on the line, and he's not testifying. But, of course, why would he? Many people would say, since the evidence is so damning. The DNA is conclusively his. You just played those statements, which are very, very damning. And then you have his statement to the police. His statement to the police is awful. His statement to the police says he didn't have contact with her, no relationship with her, but the DNA came back him. I mean, this is a rock-solid case, and I'm surprised there was no plea bargaining ahead of time. Perhaps something like life imprisonment and no death.
Yeah, that's a good point, because it is overwhelming from a defense standpoint. They would have pulled the trigger, you'd think, for life without parole, David. And is this about saving his life for the defense, trying to avoid the death penalty?
I mean, that's the only thing. I mean, that recording is one of the most incriminating recordings, absent a confession, I have ever heard. I mean, this is in a garbage truck that he's having a conversation, and then he goes right to dinner. I mean, my stomach just rolled hearing that. He's talking about the blood and covering up and gloves and using brake cleaner for washing his hands, and then he wants to know if they're going to have pizza. There's an unborn child in the victim's body that is his biologically. There's also forensics that ties her blood to him. And when we think about whether or not there's a plea bargain, I think about Kohberger too. It's like if prosecutors believe in the death penalty and it's a death penalty case, then there's probably no plea bargain extended. And Kohberger should have been right here, too, in this particular situation where he's looking at death, too. And I am not happy about that, because this is what prosecutors are supposed to be doing.
Yeah, well, you could argue that. If a state has the death penalty on the books, then a guy like Soto-Escalera or Brian Kohberger are their poster boys, because, Joe, to that point, doesn't care about anyone but himself, doesn't care about the victim, doesn't care about the unborn child. Jurors saw a photo of the medical examiner holding the unborn child during the autopsy. This jury has got to have absolute anger towards this defendant. But even though it's a death qualified jury, we see time and time again, when it comes time to propose a death sentence, it's a lot harder than people think. And there is no guarantee that, even given this amount of evidence and this scoundrel as a defendant, that they're going to come back death.
Well, you're right. Nothing's ever a guarantee. But, David raises a good point with the whole death penalty situation. And I agree with him with Kohberger. I didn't understand why they gave that deal. But if you have the death penalty in your state, and you get cases like this or like Kohberger, why don't you use it? Kohberger still baffles my mind. You've got 4 innocent deaths, and they simply give it away and do some type of plea bargain. I didn't understand that. And with this case, yes, in Florida, sure. Florida has the death penalty. This case is ripe for the death penalty. But no, nothing is ever a guarantee. But boy, I think in this kind of a situation, they're going to come back with a death verdict.
So yesterday, the jury heard this conversation post-murder. The day before, they heard a conversation from the garbage truck pre-murder. He's talking about different ways. Should I strangle her? Should I blow her head off? Take a listen.
And I'm not the only one. She's pregnant from that little that works there. She says it's mine, supposedly. I can't take chances. I lose everything. No, I am telling you the truth. If something happens to me, you already know. I'm going to blow her brains out so she doesn't talk. I have to do it, Eric. I have no other choice. I'm going to lose everything. What I need is someone to drive me. That's it.
David, I mean, it's crazy. This is before he even does it, and he is only thinking about himself, and it's scary that people like this are walking around amongst us.
Yeah, so this is very important to prove the murder charge itself. But back to this question about death. You know, normally to avoid death, you got to go in there with mitigation and really humanize the defendant and show that this is an aberration and what's the background and mental health history and substance abuse, etc. So this is not only good for the prosecutor's case in the case in chief, but it's also very relevant to the death penalty question as well, because he is only thinking about himself. He's talking about losing it all just based on a child that she may be carrying of his, talking about his life, and in the end takes hers, and his is going to be going down the toilet as well, either life in prison or death.
Yeah, it's something else, this case. Let's get a break here. Both of you are going to stick around. We're looking forward to those closing arguments, top of next hour. We'll watch those together. But coming up, a story that has a lot of people talking online. A teen's body found in the front trunk of a Tesla owned by a popular singer. Plus, will convicted killer Leilani Simon get a new trial?
There's been times when she has been getting on to Quentin, called him a bastard child out of anger. I guess he was doing something like climbing on a table, and she told him to get down several times. And she's like, this is why I wish I never had you, wish I would have aborted you, and stuff like that.
8.5 months pregnant, a young mother found brutally murdered.
To lose a child, there's no words for it.
Now the victim's boyfriend, a married father of 4, is
charged for the murder of his alleged mistress and her unborn child.
That's one of the things that struck me. He was not remorseful.
From the first gavel to the final verdict, Court TV takes you inside the South Florida courtroom
for this tragic death penalty case.
The pregnant mistress murder trial. Live coverage today, only on Court TV.
The body of a teenage girl is found in a Tesla. The vehicle is registered to a popular music artist known for his moody and emotional style. Singer David now finds himself at the center of a media storm. That is David performing one of his latest hits, A Friend Again. The 20-year-old, whose real name is David Anthony Burke, is a rising artist with nearly 4 million followers on TikTok alone. The decomposing body of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas was found inside a Tesla registered to David in Los Angeles after somebody noticed a stench coming from the vehicle. It was in a tow yard. In a statement to Court TV, the medical examiner said in part the decedent was found severely decomposed inside a vehicle on September 8th, 2025. She appears to have been deceased inside the vehicle for an extended period of time before being found. Rivas was last seen in April of 2024, about 60 miles away from Los Angeles. She was 13 years old at the time when she was reported missing. Authorities have not implicated David in Rivas's death. The singer is cooperating with police. So what questions remain in this investigation? A ton. Let's bring in criminal defense attorney David Bruto, media personality and artist, head rack, and retired NYPD Detective Mike Alcazar. Good morning to all of you. Head crack. Let's start with you. David, give us a sense of his career in terms of its trajectory, where he is at this point. He's only 20 years old, but he's already made quite a mark.
You know, making waves in all the right spaces and places. One of the places he really got a big launch pad from was Fortnite. He was one of those guys who made like one of the first anthems for the game that was utilized a lot, and he also is like really big on social media platforms like Discord, Reddit, naming a few. And his fans are very active. They engage with his music, and he's one of those artists who's like using all the tools that are available in a different way, and it's really like made quite an ecosystem for him.
And now he's at the center of all of this. David, the body is severely decomposed. That's a problem, is it not? In that, at the end of the day, they may not have a cause of death here.
Yeah, without a doubt. First thing that jumped out at me with that forensic pathologist statement is what's the cause of death? Cause and manner are the starting point for any prosecutor in a homicide case, and this may not be a homicide. This could be a drug overdose. It could be a medical event. So certainly that is first and foremost for investigators and prosecutors, is to determine how she died. Depending on how the body is, how much it's decomposed, there's still ways to get toxicology from the body, and there should be damage and broken bones and all kinds of different ways to come to that decision. That's number one. Number two, we are in a gold rush of technology. Headcrack talked about the use of tools by this particular person, but at the same time, there's also going to be text messages and DMs, and there's going to be Snapchats, and there's going to be surveillance video, and the tech is so strong right now for law enforcement to be able to go back into the lives and look at digital footprints of both the victim and the suspect and determine who, when, where, and all the questions that really need to be answered with respect to the relationship. So those are two things that jump out at me: cause and manner, and then the tech that could basically put together the relationship and the communications.
Mike, David's Hollywood home was searched yesterday. They were out there for an extended period of time, picking up on what David just said. You have an individual who is a 20-year-old, very successful, wealthy entertainer. He's got a lot of people around him, and there's vehicles around him as well, and that's already been, it's been thrown out there as well. It's just because it's his vehicle doesn't mean he was the guy with the keys to the vehicle. Give us a sense of the difficulty of investigating this case from what we know.
Yeah, very true. That was the first thing that popped into my head. So they recovered this Tesla. They're going to canvass for video surveillance. It's already been told that the Tesla's been parked in several locations, so they're going to canvass for video there. The Tesla itself might have video surveillance. Everything's recorded electronically on Teslas. Its movement, and who approached it. And like David said, they're going to compare what kind of evidence, any kind of forensic evidence that they can gather from the scene, and they're going to compare that to any kind of DNA evidence inside the vehicle, inside his residence. It's going to be a methodical search for forensic evidence, and it's going to be daunting given the timeline and the decomposure of the body.
Yeah, it makes it very difficult out of the gate. Let's take a little closer look at the 20-year-old artist, David, including these kind of eerie lyrics from a hit single that he has. It's called Romantic Homicide, which was released 2 years before Revis went missing. I mean, that's as creepy as it gets. That his YouTube video from that song with blood and a knife. First went viral on TikTok, did this artist with 3.8 million followers now, released his debut album, Withered, in April. Been on tour since August. Tour stops in Seattle on Wednesday were canceled, and shows he's set to perform in San Francisco and Los Angeles this weekend. We'll see if that actually happens. Reportedly, Hollister and Crocs have now ended their marketing campaigns with the singer. So what's next for David, and how could this affect his career? Once he's a suspect, Headcrack, which we should mention. Headcrack has an album out as well called Microdose. What does this do to him now? Yes, his name is now everywhere, but could this hurt his career, whether or not he had anything to do with the demise of Celeste?
I mean, we're already seeing the downslide of, the sponsorship potentials. Fortnite was getting ready to make a skin for him and put him in the game, and they quickly canceled that. You talked about the Hollister, ad and the Croc thing that also got canceled as well. It's one of those things where, more people know his name now and are probably listening to his music just to see what the hype is about. So you're going to see an uptick in streams, I think, in that regard. And if he somehow proves his innocence in this situation, I think this possibly makes him bigger. And you've also seen situations when someone does something terrible, it also helps as well. There was an artist a few years ago who his name escapes me. He's a rapper from Dallas, the Dallas area, who committed a murder. He was on the run for a while, and his streams went through the roof just because he was involved in a case, and he was actually he's bigger behind bars than he was when he was in the free world. So we live in different times than it was back in the day, to where things that would typically end an artist's career actually mysteriously boost them.
Yeah, Mike. From an investigative standpoint, too, the amount of people around him and his fame, but also his money. He's a 20-year-old who's already been able to make some serious cash. That would lend one to believe that he'll lawyer up very quickly and access to him is going to be limited. Your thoughts on that part of the investigation and how a little bit more difficult it might be for investigators given his status?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, he can lawyer up. It doesn't mean that the police can't interrogate him. He'll just have to have a lawyer present. So we're going to have to, we could interview the staff, the people around him. I'm sure they already opened up a tip line, and because of his fame and perhaps now notoriety, might be a lot of information that detectives will have to collate and investigate, and hopefully it's something that's proactive that can lead to something good, some good probable cause information that they can act on.
Yeah, we shall see. This is obviously developing. We'll continue to follow it. Mike Alcaraz and Headcrack, thank you. Have a great weekend. Appreciate your time on this Friday. Coming up next on Opening Statements. Remember Leilani Simon, the Georgia mom convicted of killing her toddler, little Quentin? Well, she wants a new trial. We'll talk about that. So does Karina Cooper from the Widow's Words murder trial. A hearing set for today. She wants a new trial. If she doesn't get it, then it's time to be sentenced.
Did you want your husband dead?
No.
Why would you say that?
Because I have a really sick sense of humor sometimes, inappropriate humor.
Did Houston talk about killing Ryan?
Several times.
Did you ever take him seriously?
No, I thought he was full of crap.
As to the verdict, it reads as follows. We, the jury, find as follows: malice murder. We find the defendant guilty. Count 2, felony murder. We find the defendant guilty. And count 19, making a false statement. We find the defendant guilty.
In the spotlight this morning, the Georgia mother who killed her toddler son and dumped him in a landfill wants a new trial. Last year, a jury convicted Leilani Simon on 19 charges, including murder and concealing a death for the murder of little Quentin. She was sentenced to life with the possibility of parole after 40 years. Simon reported Quentin missing in October of 2022, and in the days after, begged police to help find him. She even spoke to a local TV station, WTOC.
We're in limbo. We're in limbo just like everybody else is. We're sitting here every day waiting for answers. Being in this house is hard. My mother and I can't even stay inside throughout the day. We always are outside because there's just so many memories that we don't know if we're going to have again.
There's something else, that case. During the trial, the prosecution showed videos of Simon being interviewed by police.
He was alive last time I seen my baby. He was alive and he was moving and he had color in his face and he was my happy baby. I don't know where my baby is. I don't know what happened to him. And all I know is that you're sitting here constantly trying to ask me to help you find him, and I'm doing the best that I can, but nothing that I'm going to tell you is going to change because I've been honest.
Well, in the motion for a new trial, our attorneys claimed that statements to police were wrongly admitted after the court denied a motion to suppress. They also argued that the court should not have allowed certain evidence about Leilani's alleged sexual relationship with a drug dealer to be brought into the case. That's the basis for the new trial. Will it work? Here to discuss, criminal defense attorneys David Bruno and Joe Tamburino. Joe, your thoughts on success levels here for a new trial for Miss Simon?
No, it's not going to work. This is a very sad case. I mean, she grew up in a very troubled background. The whole thing is very sad. But, basically this. Whenever you get a motion for a new trial that says, look, there wasn't enough evidence to convict the person, it's basically called sufficiency of evidence. Those lose. 99% of the time, they lose. But many times, it's the only thing that the defense can raise to try to do it. And everything else that she says about the statements, invocation of her right to counsel, and so on, that was already litigated. So I just don't see this motion going anywhere.
David, to Joe's point, this was a trial that you just saw that little face of Quentin throughout it, and for jurors, I'm sure they went through it and just had seething reactions towards this mother who not only let down her child, but then tried to ineffectively put on this charade with the media and investigators. First, your thoughts on the chance for a new trial here, and then also just talk about this trial and her, this person as a defendant.
Yeah, sure. Had to look at this too about procedural, why this is being filed. This is Georgia law. In fact, after a conviction, they have to file this motion in the trial court before it goes up on direct appeal. It's before the same presiding judge, the same judge that made the same evidential rulings pre-trial about the statement and as the objections came in and the briefs were filed. So there's really no chance. I don't see anything new here. This is really a procedural step that had to be made before the direct appeal up to the appellate division. When I look at these clips, Ted, I think of the balance between public perception and the constitutional rights to remain silent. You see this mother, which probably thought, like, I had to get out there and I had to give this emotional statement when they're looking for my child. And then you also show the interrogation with the police, obviously waiving her Fifth Amendment rights to remain silent because she probably already opened the bag with the public statement, now felt compelled to give that statement right there with law enforcement. And it really evidences this conflict that suspects have during these criminal investigations between what they perceive the public needs to see, the public statement, versus the invocation or lack thereof in the interrogations. And she kept on talking, and it was one of the reasons for her demise once they were able to find the victim in the case and then all of the other evidence about the abuse and the way that she treated this particular child.
Mm-hmm. You can just see those investigators letting her talk as long as you want. Keep going there with your theatrics. Let's listen to the sheriff. You talked about this, Joe, this being an emotional case. It sure was. Even law enforcement was hit by this tragedy because this little soul was lost for no reason. Take a listen.
We feel that we have a very strong case. We have put thousands of hours into this. and we believed that this was the right move today to be able to do that. She doesn't deserve a Thanksgiving, quite frankly, if I can go off script a little bit. Quentin deserves that.
Yeah, Joe, you see the sheriff there getting emotional. It's just such a waste. This little boy loses his life for who knows what ridiculous reason.
Well, that's correct. And that's why whenever you have child abuse or including child death cases, they're always very emotional. Why? Because they involve children. And the thing having a child victim is exactly what you said. It's nonsensical. You know, children are innocent. Why would you kill a 20-month-old, a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old? Also, they have the rest of their lives to look forward to. They come into this world completely pure, and they rely on their caregivers. And so, you know, it's such a betrayal of, you know, just human nature for the caregiver, be it a mother or a father, to just not even care about their own child and kill them. It gets at a person's core. So yes, of course, they're always emotional. They're always extremely difficult to defend.
Yeah, and David, from an appellate standpoint, does it matter the type of crime, or is it all just legal decisions that were either erroneous or not in terms of the mindset of an appellate judge typically?
Yeah, when the appellate court looks at these issues on appeal, it depends on what the reason or the error was. Oftentimes, the appellate courts will find errors, but find them to be harmless errors. So it depends, because not all errors result in reversals. So if it's significant enough, if it's constitutional based, oftentimes it doesn't matter how heinous the crimes are, they are reversed. But when the evidence is overwhelming, when there are other reasons for the convictions, when it doesn't rise to a level of the impact that some others do, it could be found to be harmless, which doesn't actually result in a reversal.
All right, we shall see what happens with that. Let's get a break. Still to come.
Recently thought I was being set up in one of his plots that he laid out all the time through Snapchat.
In front of friends, you told Ryan Cooper that you'd shoot him in the face.
I deny ever saying that.
Then he says, remember those casings. Remember those. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Convicted killer Karina Cooper back in court today. She's asking for a new trial ahead of her sentencing. We'll talk about that next.
My two best friends were just murdered.
Join me for a Court TV true crime series where we take you from the crime scene to the courtroom.
Donna Adelson hates every piece of grass that Dan Marcel ever walked on.
It's something that'll haunt all of us forever.
It always seemed like he was covering or deceiving.
This was a whole different level.
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rowlands, a Court TV original series. Season premieres September 27th.
Only on Court TV.
Let's head to Iowa now for the case against Karina Cooper. She's expected back in court for her sentencing. Back in July, she was convicted of murdering her husband, Ryan Cooper, with the help of her lover, who you see on the screen there. His name, Houston Danker. Here's Court TV's Ashley Wilcott with a look at the case against Karina Cooper.
On June 18th of 2021, Karina Cooper calls 911 to report finding her husband Ryan covered in blood. The father of her 3 children had been shot twice in the face. Investigators zero in on Karina Cooper and another man, Houston Danker. The pair are friends. She cut his hair, but police suspected more.
I wasn't telling her I needed help, but I was kind of,
Right.
And then she offered, and that's where I would say that's where the chatting started. The friendship.
Mm-hmm. And then you described it as what, your gay friend, or how'd you describe it?
The best way I could put it is, just a gay best friend.
Investigators say chats revealed that Houston Danker and Karina Cooper were lovers, allegedly plotting to kill her husband to collect $500,000 in insurance money. Both were charged with murder. Karina Cooper stood trial in July and testified about her relationship with Danker.
Why did you stop cutting his hair?
Because I had sex with him, and I didn't want him around, and I didn't want that chance of that happening ever again.
Did Houston talk about killing Ryan?
Several times.
Did you ever take him seriously?
No, I thought he was full of crap.
Karina told the jury Danker acted on his own to kill her husband.
Then when the police get there, why didn't you tell them Houston shot my husband?
I was so scared. I was scared. I was panicked.
The jury found Karina Cooper guilty of first-degree murder.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Karina Cooper, guilty of the offense of murder in the first degree, dated this 11th day of July, 2025.
Sentencing scheduled 3:30 today, but her defense filed a motion for a new trial, saying that it's based on grounds that the jury's verdict is, quote, contrary to the law. So could that actually tip the scales here, or will the judge then deny the motion and go right to sentencing? I know where I have my money. David Bruno, Joe Tamburino, thoughts of the success on this one? Again, David, this is the same judge that's going to decide this that made the decisions during the trial.
Exactly. I believe we have the same result here as our prior segment. It's, again, this motion that the evidence didn't support a jury verdict. Although looking at this, I do see an issue maybe on appeal later, and that is the fact that Houston Danker, this co-defendant, this alleged murderer, was subpoenaed to testify. He invoked his right, Fifth Amendment. He did not. And the prosecutor was able to admit statements from Danker to police, in part denying that relationship. We saw it in the introduction package itself. The defendant had no ability to cross-examine Danker about those particular statements. And if I were handling the appeal, that would be point number one in my appellate brief, which is a violation of the right to confrontation.
Joe, your thoughts?
Oh, I think he's going to raise that at the appeal. I mean, I would imagine what the state's going to argue on appeal is that this was a conspiracy. And they're going to say, in for a penny, in for a pound. They conspired together. It's a decent argument, but I think that the evidence was overwhelming in the case. I mean, this jury took only 4 hours to come back with a guilty verdict. This case is another example of the power of text messages and social media. She texted she wanted to shoot her husband in the face. And guess what? He was shot twice in the face. So, I mean, she could cry all she wants and ask for a new trial, but the evidence was overwhelming. I mean, it literally took only 4 hours for this jury to come back with a guilty verdict.
Here she is on cross saying that I never said that about shooting him in the face. Take a listen.
More than one occasion, you told Ryan Cooper that you hated him.
Yes.
In front of friends, you told Ryan Cooper that you'd shoot him in the face.
I deny ever saying that.
Was that when you were Karen, when you said, I'd shoot you in the face?
I never said that.
Karen did?
Karen did not say it either. It was not said.
David, taking the stand is a risk. She rolled the dice and lost.
Absolutely. Look, it's their constitutional right to do so. But when those defendants get on the stand, all eyes and the credibility question goes right to the defendant. Very different case when a defense attorney is able to stand up there and say the government hasn't proven their case beyond a reasonable doubt versus Karina getting on the stand, and obviously she didn't have any good answers. And, you know, back to sort of that right to confrontation that I brought up, I have to wonder, you know, as a prosecutor, and I was a homicide prosecutor, at times you have to make the decision, do I really need that? Did you really need to admit Danker's statement to police, a testimonial statement? You had the Snapchat conversation where she says, don't forget the casings. That is enough, if you ask me, along with other forensic evidence and the lies about the relationship. But that particular back and forth about the casings and that he was in his chair, you know, those were the things that were the crux of the prosecutor to show it's a lot more than she made it out to believe about that relationship.
Yeah, and Joe, that to that point, the criminal mind is so distorted. Like, what are they thinking? Like, oh, Snapchat, those go away right away. We could just say whatever we want on Snapchat. I mean, this is what really did do her in, is it not? Talking about casings, and the guy was shot.
Yes, it did do her in. But David raises an interesting point that actually ties into what he mentioned about 15, 20 minutes ago, which is when you're on appeal, you have the issue of whether or not, even if there was a mistake in the trial, is it something that the appellate court's going to say was so important, had such an impact that they're going to give you a new trial? Or is it harmless? So, you know, let's go down that road. Yes, Houston's statement was definitely damaging to the defendant, and Houston did not testify, and that would be a violation of her right to confrontation. It's under the Crawford Doctrine, based on a case at the United Supreme Court back in 2004. But then you're going to have to weigh that as an appellate court, meaning, okay, without that statement, would she still have been convicted? Is the evidence so overwhelming that she would have been convicted? And that's going to be the issue. But it is a very interesting argument.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's where the Snapchat comes in, because the answer likely is yes, she still would have gone down. We'll find out later today. David Bruto, enjoy your weekend. Thanks for your time.